Although product managers collaborate with product designers and engineers throughout the entire product management lifecycle, the build phase is when this partnership is most apparent. Some people refer to the collaboration among product managers, product designers, and engineers as the product trio. This is technically a framework for product development, but at most organizations, it's the default way of working. Here is a summary of each function's role in the trio. The product manager brings in the business context and ensures the product meets the customer's needs. They define the product vision, prioritize what to build, and establish goals and milestones for product development. During the build phase, product managers take on more of an advisory role, while also making sure the product or specific features are delivered on time and meet quality standards. The product designer brings visual and interactive design expertise and owns creating a visually appealing and user-friendly product that solves customers' problems. They also work with the engineer to make sure what they design is technically feasible. And the engineer brings technical expertise and is responsible for building functionality that meets requirements and aligns with the overall product vision. As you can probably already tell, each function has its own purpose, but they share many of the same overarching goals. Together, the product trio works to deliver solutions that solve customers' problems, are technically feasible and secure, and ultimately help drive business growth. For the purposes of this course, I'm going to go over how product managers collaborate with each function and best practices to ensure a successful partnership. Let's start with the engineer. Partnering with engineering is foundational for any product manager. During the build phase, you'll work hand in hand with a developer, helping to prioritize what gets built and making sure it aligns with the vision and requirements you've set. You and your engineer should be in near constant communication throughout the build process, largely because they might run into an issue or challenge that requires a pivot in direction. You'll also want to be sure you're not overstepping. Part of the product manager's job is to ensure engineers have the right amount of work and product knowledge, but are able to be self-sufficient. Speaking of the right amount of work, product managers also help break development work into incremental delivery and milestones. One way you might do this is with an epic. An epic is a body of work that can be broken down into specific tasks, referred to as user stories, based on the needs of customers and end users. Epics are a key part of Agile development, helping turn a large project into smaller components that can be shipped incrementally. The specific elements included in an epic will vary depending on your organization and product, but some common components include a descriptive title, an overview of the feature or functionality to be delivered, the target user persona or personas, acceptance criteria for the work to be considered complete, any dependencies, an explanation of the user value and impact, a rough estimate of the effort required, the release plan, and relevant user stories. It's also important to remember that epics are living documents that can evolve throughout the build phase and beyond. Now, let's walk through some best practices for working with engineers. The first best practice is to communicate the why. The last thing an engineer wants to do is build something without knowing any context. Product managers are responsible for providing context and explaining why something needs to be built. When engineers understand why they are building something and how it serves business and customer needs, they can implement better solutions. The second best practice is to be decisive. If you aren't sure if a feature should be prioritized or whether it will solve the customer problem, don't assign that work to engineering. In fact, this is a great time to bring engineers into the discussion so they can share their insights and help you determine the best solution for a given problem. The third best practice is to learn how engineers do their best work. This includes taking the time to understand how engineers accomplish their work, their preferred communication methods, and what a typical day or week looks like. This will help you build empathy and allow you to better support and collaborate with your engineering counterpart. The fourth best practice is to clarify responsibilities. Product managers and engineers work together closely, which means there's room for confusion around who should do what. Make sure you're being transparent about each function's responsibilities and any areas of overlap. And the fifth best practice is to invest in your relationship. In the end, successful collaboration is going to come down to the relationship you've built with the engineering team. By investing in your relationship with an engineer, you'll be better equipped to overcome the challenges that inherently arise as you work to bring a product or feature to life. Moving on, let's discuss how a product manager partners with the product designer. Not that long ago, design was a pursuit in making it pretty. Today, design thinking and practices permeate every step of bringing products to market. Companies like Airbnb, Amazon, and Spotify have reshaped entire industries by employing design-forward practices in their product development. This makes the partnership between a product manager and product designer even more crucial to the product's success. Just as product managers partner with engineering on the technical side of what gets built, they also work with designers to ensure solutions are visually appealing and intuitive. There is, of course, overlap and things that all three functions work on together during the build phase. But for learning purposes, we're going to focus on the collaboration between product and design. Product managers stay in close communication with designers in order to help clarify requirements for the design implementation, as well as provide feedback on design work that's in progress. The product manager also serves as the bridge between design and other stakeholders like engineering, marketing, and company leadership. Another key part of this partnership is getting feedback from customers. Product managers and designers are constantly learning about customers' preferences, leveraging insights from user surveys, focus groups, and prototype testing to inform the design of new functionality. Product managers also work with designers on user story mapping, which is a visual method for outlining the work requirements that will achieve the best end user experience. Instead of designing a product or feature based on what you think looks good, user story mapping encourages teams to conceptualize what will enable users to achieve their goals as efficiently as possible. These user stories communicate requirements from the perspective of user value, and often follow the following format. As a type of user, I want to action, so that benefit. For example, a user story for project management software might be, as an admin, I want to view members of my team's tasks so that I can assign projects based on current workload. This user story might then inform how you design a new admin dashboard. Now let's walk through some best practices for working with product designers. You'll notice some overlap with the best practices for working with engineers. The first best practice is to get a designer involved as early as possible. Product managers can't just come up with an idea, build a lo-fi prototype, and then ask the product designer to make it look good. Involve a product designer early in your process, for example, when conducting user interviews during discovery. This way, they'll be informed on the problem you're trying to solve and be better able to design the right solution. The second best practice is to explain the reasoning behind your decisions. Although product managers and product designers both aim to provide the best possible experience for users, you'll often go about it in different ways. This makes it crucial to always explain why you've come to a certain decision or why you think something should look or feel a certain way. The third best practice is to respect their opinion. Sometimes you and your designer won't agree on a decision, but you still need to respect their vision and design expertise. Just as you'll provide context around your decisions, try to understand why they're saying something won't work or doesn't feel intuitive. The fourth best practice is to create ongoing feedback loops. Make sure there are clear ways for product designers to share progress and updates with you, and for you to provide feedback. Just like with your engineer, you'll need to be in constant communication with your product designer, especially if and when the scope of what you're building changes. And the fifth best practice is to foster effective communication. In addition to creating an environment for open communication, Make an effort to understand your product designer's communication style. Similarly, remember that they are not a product manager and might not approach problems from the same perspective as you. I also recommend avoiding using terminology or jargon a designer isn't familiar with. That was a lot, but hopefully it helped shed light on the importance of a product manager's close partnership with engineering and product design, and what that collaboration looks like in practice.